The strongest alien warrior lowered her voice and asked the human for freedom. Strange, massive creatures roamed the land, their scales reflecting the light of the twin suns. The planet was alive, and it was dangerous. A small human scout ship broke through the atmosphere, its engines whirring and cooling as it approached the surface. Inside, a team of 5 humans prepared to land. Their leader, a young man named Ethan, tightened his gloves and peered out of the viewport. "This planet is harsh," said Lena, the communications officer, her voice tinged with nervousness. "Sensors show strong energy signatures." "Something alive and not human," Ethan nodded. "We knew it wouldn't be easy. Our mission is simple: observe, gather information, and get out." "Simple," muttered Raymai, the youngest of the team. "Ethan, have you seen those readings? The energy, it's massive. Whoever or whatever lives here is powerful." Ethan did not answer. He already knew. Stories of Vera 9 had reached human colonies years ago, a planet where no human had survived more than a day. Rumors said the strongest warrior in the galaxy lived there. Her name was Zyra. She was said to have defeated entire armies alone. The humans' ship touched down near a cliff edge. They stepped out into the alien world. The air was thick, with a faint electric hum that made their hairs stand on end. The ground beneath their boots vibrated as if the planet itself was alive. Ethan raised a hand. "Stay alert, keep to the plan." The team moved carefully through the strange landscape, scanning for movement. The glowing rivers cast eerie shadows on their faces. Every step made them aware of the risk. Then a sudden sound cut through the air. A roar deep and sharp echoed across the valley. The humans froze. From the horizon, a figure appeared. She was tall, taller than any human by far, with muscles rippling under her alien skin, shining with a silver-blue hue. Her eyes were like molten gold, burning with intelligence and strength. Every movement was precise, and every step made the ground tremble. Zyra. The humans could feel the power radiating from her even from a distance. She carried a long, curved weapon, its edges glowing faintly. Her presence was commanding, terrifying, and beautiful all at once. Ethan whispered to his team, "Do not move, do not make noise." But it was already too late. Zyra's golden eyes locked onto them. A low growl came from her throat. She raised her weapon, ready to strike. In that moment, every human's heart pounded in fear. They were no match for her, not even close. "Show yourself," she demanded in a voice that was calm, yet so powerful it made the air vibrate. Ethan stepped forward slowly. "We mean no harm," he said, using the universal communication device. His voice was steady, though inside he felt fear like never before. Zyra tilted her head. She had never heard a human speak to her like this. Most creatures fled at the mere mention of her name, most bowed or screamed, but this human, he did not show fear. "Meaning no harm?" she asked, her voice lowering just slightly. "Why should I believe you?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Because we do not come to fight. We want to explore, learn, and survive. That is all." For a moment, Zyra said nothing. Then, with a speed that made the humans blink, she was in front of them. She swung her weapon in a wide arc. The air itself seemed to bend around it. Ethan reacted quickly. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. The ground where he had stood cracked under the force. The humans scattered, looking for cover, but nowhere was safe. Zyra's eyes followed them with ease. "You are bold," Zyra said, almost amused. "Bold or foolish." Ethan picked up a small rock and held it in front of him. "I do not want to fight you," he shouted. "If you lower your weapon, we will leave peacefully." Zyra laughed softly, a sound that was both terrifying and musical. "Leave? You think this planet will let you leave so easily?" She took a step closer. The ground shook again. The humans realized she was testing them, gauging their reactions. She had defeated thousands in battles across planets. And yet she paused, intrigued by these small, fragile beings who dared to stand in her presence without fear. Suddenly, from behind a cliff, a pack of enormous alien beasts charged. Their scales reflected the twin suns, their claws tearing into the stone. The humans froze again, unsure what to do. Zyra did not hesitate. With a roar, she leaped into the pack. She moved with unmatched speed, her weapon flashing, striking with precision. In seconds, the beasts lay defeated. Not one touched the humans. Ethan watched in awe. She saved us," Lena whispered. Zyra turned her golden eyes toward Ethan. "Do not mistake my mercy for weakness," she said. "You are alive because I choose to let you be, that is all." Ethan nodded slowly. "We understand, thank you." For a moment, silence fell. The humans realized something. Zyra was not just strong. She was intelligent, disciplined, and cautious. and for reasons they could not yet understand, she had chosen not to kill them. "I have seen many warriors fall before me," Zyra said, her voice lowering almost to herself. "Many die because they underestimate me. You are different, small, fragile, but not afraid." Ethan stepped forward cautiously. "We humans survive by helping each other, by being clever. We cannot match your strength, but we can use our minds." Zyra's eyes narrowed. She had fought countless opponents, but never someone like this. Someone who faced her fearlessly, relying not on brute force, but on courage and intelligence. "You are curious," she said, almost whispering, "and dangerous because of it. Perhaps you are worth observing." Ethan's heart raced. He had faced danger before, but never like this. Yet something in Zyra's words gave him hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive this planet if they earned her respect. Suddenly, a tremor ran through the ground. More creatures stirred in the distance. Zyra turned her gaze toward them, scanning, assessing. She gestured to the humans. "Follow me," she commanded. "Quickly, if you stay here, you will die." Without waiting for an answer, Zyra led the humans through narrow cliffs and jagged rocks. She moved with grace despite her size and strength. The humans struggled to keep up, their lungs burning in the alien air. As they ran, Ethan stole glances at Zyra. He could see the power in her movements, the discipline, the sheer control over her body. And yet he noticed something else, a shadow of loneliness in her eyes, as if she carried a burden far heavier than any weapon. Finally, they reached a cave, hidden behind a waterfall of glowing liquid. Zyra stopped and turned to face the humans. "You are alive because I chose it," she said again. "Do not mistake this for kindness. The galaxy is cruel. You will not survive long if you rely only on hope." Ethan swallowed. "We will survive, we must. That is our nature." Zyra studied him, her golden eyes piercing. "Nature, yes, humans are strange, fragile yet unyielding, small yet dangerous. You do not fight like others. Perhaps that is why you are alive now." The humans huddled together, exhausted but relieved. For the first time, they saw that strength did not only belong to the strongest warriors. Even in the face of impossible power, courage and intelligence could create a chance to live. Zyra finally lowered her weapon. She looked at Ethan directly. "You have intrigued me, human. Stay alive, survive. Perhaps one day we will speak again not as hunter and prey, but as equals." Ethan nodded slowly, understanding the rare gift he had been given. Survival on Vera 9 was not just about strength. It was about courage, trust, and the unexpected bonds that could form between the weakest and the strongest. The humans settled in the cave, hearts still racing, minds full of questions. Who was this warrior, truly? Why had she spared them? And what would happen when the empire that ruled her learned of their presence? Outside, Zyra stood tall, watching the glowing rivers. She thought about the human before her, fearless, clever, unafraid. And a quiet voice in her mind whispered that perhaps this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, danger was everywhere. But in that moment, the strongest warrior and the smallest human had shared a strange, fragile connection. And it was this connection that might shape the fate of both their worlds. The night fell on Vera 9, pink skies fading into deep violet. Stars shone above, distant and untouchable. But for the humans, and for Zyra, the first threads of a story had begun. A story of courage, survival, and a bond that no strength in the galaxy could easily break. The cave was quiet except for the faint hum of the glowing liquid behind the waterfall. The humans huddled together, exhausted but alive. Their small fires barely lit the rocky walls. Outside, the alien world of Vera 9 loomed, dangerous and strange, yet full of life. Zyra sat a few meters away from them, her massive form leaning against the wall. Her weapon rested beside her, but her eyes did not leave the humans. She had fought countless enemies across galaxies, but these humans were different. They had no armor, no overwhelming power, and yet they survived. Ethan stepped forward cautiously. "We need food and water," he said softly, "and shelter for the night. Can you help us?" Zyra's golden eyes flicked toward him. "I do not feed humans," she said, her voice calm, "but you are alive because I spared you. Do not test my patience." Ethan nodded. He understood the warning, but he also knew they could not survive the night without help. "We are not testing you," he said. "We only want to survive. We can work with you if you allow it." For a long moment, Zyra said nothing. She studied him, her sharp gaze weighing every word. Finally, she nodded slightly. "Follow me, quickly." The humans scrambled to follow her as she led them through narrow tunnels behind the waterfall. The path was treacherous, with slippery stones and jagged edges, but Zyra moved with effortless grace. Every step seemed planned, calculated, as if she had walked these tunnels 1,000 times. After several minutes, they emerged in a larger cavern. The walls glowed with strange crystals, casting soft light across the space. In the center, a small underground stream flowed, its water surprisingly clear and drinkable. "Drink," Zyra said, pointing to the stream, "but do not waste it. There is little in this region that is safe to consume." The humans drank quickly, relief washing over them. For a moment there was silence, broken only by the water's gentle flow. Ethan dared to speak. "You saved our lives today," he said. "Why? Why did you not strike us down like you do with others?" Zyra's eyes narrowed. "I do not act on curiosity often, but you did not run, you did not scream. You faced me with courage, not weapons. That is unusual." Raimai, still shivering, whispered, "So humans are interesting to her?" Lena elbowed him gently. "Interesting or not, we still need to survive. Listen to Ethan." Ethan knelt by the stream. "Zyra, if we stay together, maybe we can survive. We are weak compared to you, but we have something you do not. Ideas, plans, cooperation. We can be useful to each other." Zyra tilted her head. "Useful? Humans rarely survive more than a few hours in this region. How could you possibly be useful?" Ethan smiled faintly. "We survive because we think, because we adapt. You may have strength, but we have creativity. That is why we are still here." Zyra studied him. She had fought creatures that were stronger, faster, and smarter than humans, yet they had no imagination. Humans, they were fragile yet unpredictable. That was dangerous in its own way. "Very well," Zyra said finally. "If you survive this night, I will allow you to follow me for a short time. But understand this. The moment you fail, I will not hesitate to end you." The humans nodded, understanding the weight of her words. They could not afford mistakes. For the next hours, Zyra guided them through hidden tunnels and rocky cliffs. She taught them how to move silently, how to avoid the dangers of the alien landscape. Ethan and his team listened carefully, learning quickly. They encountered strange creatures, flying insects with glowing wings, small predators that hunted in packs, and enormous stone-skinned beasts. Zyra showed the humans how to watch, wait, and avoid conflict. Her lessons were not gentle, but they were effective. Ethan noticed something unusual. Zyra, despite her strength, never moved recklessly. She calculated every action, every step. There was intelligence behind her power, discipline behind her instincts. Humans could learn from that. As night fell, they reached a small plateau overlooking a glowing valley. The air was thin, and the wind howled across the cliffs. The humans huddled together, grateful for a moment of safety. Zyra sat apart from them, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Ethan approached cautiously. "You fight for your people, for your empire," he said softly, "but do you ever fight for yourself?" Zyra did not answer immediately. Her eyes remained on the glowing rivers far below. Finally, she spoke, her voice lower than before, almost a whisper. "I have fought for orders, for loyalty, for honor. I have never fought for freedom. It is not mine to choose." Ethan nodded slowly. "Freedom is worth fighting for, even if it is hard, even if it is dangerous. You could have a choice." Zyra's golden eyes met his. For the first time, something in her shifted. There was curiosity, perhaps even hope. Humans were strange creatures, fragile, small, and weak, yet their spirit could challenge the strongest in the galaxy. Suddenly, the ground trembled. From the valley below, a squad of alien scouts emerged. They were armed, moving with precision. Zyra's posture stiffened. "They have found us," she said. "Stay behind me." Ethan looked at his team. "We can help," he said. "If we work together, we might stand a chance." Zyra turned her head slowly, studying him. "You are bold," she said. "Perhaps foolish, very well, but follow my lead exactly." The humans nodded, hearts pounding. Zyra moved first, leaping down the rocky cliffs with precision. Ethan and his team followed, using the lessons she had taught them. They moved silently, avoiding traps and ambushes. The alien scouts spread out, searching. Zyra watched them, calculating every movement. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, she struck. Her weapon flashed, cutting through the air, creating shockwaves that knocked the scouts off balance. The humans, guided by her, struck with rocks and sharp sticks, distracting the enemies long enough for Zyra to disable them completely. Ethan could hardly believe what he saw. They had survived their first real test, thanks to Zyra's guidance and their own courage. When the battle ended, Zyra turned to the humans. "You are surprisingly capable," she said. "Perhaps there is more to your kind than I thought." Lena wiped sweat from her brow. We only survived because you helped us. Zyra nodded. Yes, but you also adapted. That is why you live. Humans survive because they do not rely solely on strength. You rely on thought. That is rare. Ethan smiled faintly. And that is why we can work together. We have different strengths. For the next few hours, they rested in the plateau. Zyra did not speak much, but her presence was a silent protection. The humans began to understand that she was not just a warrior, she was a strategist, a teacher, and perhaps, slowly, a friend. As dawn approached, Ethan approached Zyra once more. We are grateful for your help, he said. We want to learn more if you will allow it. Teach us to survive, to fight if we must, to think like you do. Zyra studied him, her golden eyes reflecting the first rays of the twin suns. She had never taken a human as an equal, never allowed one to observe her closely. And yet, she felt something unfamiliar, a strange trust, a fragile hope. Very well, she said finally. But understand this, survival is not guaranteed. You will make mistakes, you will suffer, and if you fail, I will not save you again. Ethan nodded. We understand, and we accept it. For the first time, Zyra allowed herself to show a small sign of respect. She gestured for them to follow as they descended into the valley below. Together, humans and the strongest warrior on the planet moved through the alien landscape, an unlikely alliance forming in the shadows of danger. They encountered more creatures, more hazards, and strange terrain. Zyra guided them through it all, teaching them not just how to survive, but how to observe, how to anticipate, how to think like a predator and a protector at the same time. Ethan realized something remarkable. Strength alone did not guarantee survival. Strategy, courage, and unity could match, and sometimes surpass, the greatest power in the galaxy. By the end of the day, the humans and Zyra had formed a bond, one built not on friendship, but on respect, understanding, and the shared desire to survive. Zyra had never admitted it, but she was intrigued. Humans, fragile and small, had captured her attention in a way no other being had. As the sun set, painting the sky in fiery colors, Ethan looked at Zyra and realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, the dangers were countless, and the strongest warrior had just taken a step toward something neither of them fully understood, an alliance that might change their fates forever. The humans slept in relative safety under Zyra's watch, their hearts lighter than before. And Zyra, standing on the cliff above, gazed at the stars with a thought she had never considered. Perhaps humans were not weak. Perhaps in their fragility, they were stronger than she had ever imagined. The dawn on Vera 9 broke with pale pink light spilling over jagged cliffs and glowing rivers. Ethan and his team woke, their muscles sore, their minds alert. Last night had been a lesson in survival unlike anything they had ever known. Zyra had disappeared at first light, as if she never slept. She returned with food, small, alien fruits and water that shimmered with the planet's energy. She handed them to the humans without a word, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. Ethan studied her carefully. You never eat, he asked. You move so fast, you must need energy. Zyra looked at him, unblinking. I eat when necessary. Strength is built from discipline, not hunger. Raymai muttered under his breath. She's almost like a machine, Lena gave him a sharp glance. SHH, don't insult her, that could be dangerous. Ethan smiled faintly. She is not a machine, she is very skilled. And we can learn from her. Zyra's gaze flicked between them. You wish to learn? She asked. Her voice was lower than usual, almost curious. Ethan nodded. Yes, we need to survive, and we can learn to protect ourselves. Please teach us. Zyra studied him. For a moment she seemed distant, as if weighing a heavy decision. Then she spoke softly, almost to herself. You are human, fragile, small, yet daring. Perhaps there is reason to teach you. The humans exchanged glances. For the first time, they felt a fragile trust forming. They realized that Zyra, the galaxy's strongest warrior, might become more than just their protector. She could become their teacher. The first lessons were simple: movement, observation, and patience. Zyra led them across rocky cliffs, pointing out weak points in the terrain and showing them how to watch for predators. The humans followed carefully, trying to imitate her grace. You must not panic, Zyra said. Panic kills faster than any predator. Watch, wait, and strike only when necessary. Ethan noticed how precise she was. Every step, every glance, every movement was controlled. Even her breathing seemed measured. Discipline is part of strength, he whispered to himself. Zyra glanced at him. You notice quickly. That is useful. By midday, the humans were exhausted, but they had learned a lot. Zyra was not just teaching them survival, she was teaching them to think like her. They watched, calculated, and adapted. Slowly, they began to move with more confidence, relying on strategy rather than pure strength. As they rested by a glowing river, Ethan asked the question that had been on his mind since they met her. "Zyra, you are the strongest warrior in the galaxy, right?" She did not answer immediately. Instead, she stared at the flowing water, her eyes distant. Finally, she spoke, her voice almost a whisper. "I am strong because I was trained. Since birth I have fought. I have never known freedom. My strength is not my own. It belongs to the Empire that commands me. I have killed for them, fought for them, and yet I am a prisoner of my own power." The humans listened, stunned. The warrior who had terrified entire planets was enslaved. Ethan stepped closer. "You fight for others, but not for yourself. That's unfair. Why do you stay?" Zyra's golden eyes met his. "Because honor binds me, because breaking my orders would bring death not only to me, but to others. And yet, I envy you, humans. You choose your own path. You survive on your courage, your creativity, your will. You are free in ways I am not." Lena whispered to Rami, "Did you hear that? She envies us." Rami nodded slowly. "She's the strongest, and yet she's trapped." "Wow," Ethan spoke gently. "You don't have to be trapped forever. You can choose freedom, and maybe we can help you." Zyra's gaze narrowed. "You think a human can help me? You are fragile. You do not understand the galaxy's dangers. You could die before you even reach my empire." Ethan smiled faintly. "We survive by being clever. By working together, you've already saved us once. Maybe together we can survive again and change more than just our own fates." Zyra considered him. Humans were strange creatures. Small, weak, yet unafraid. Their courage, it was unlike anything she had seen. Later, as they moved through a narrow canyon, they heard distant shouts. Alien soldiers were nearby, patrolling the area. Zyra motioned for silence. "We cannot fight them all," she whispered. "We must hide." Ethan looked around. The humans could not simply outrun the soldiers, not without Zyra. But maybe they could outthink them. "Follow me," Ethan whispered to his team. He had noticed patterns in the soldiers' movements. "We can use the terrain. If we move quietly, they won't see us coming. We can survive." Zyra watched as he guided his team. They moved carefully, avoiding loose stones and overhangs that could give away their position. She was impressed. Humans rarely had such instinct under pressure. One soldier spotted a shadow, and the group froze. Ethan whispered instructions, and they ducked behind a rock just in time. The soldier passed unaware. Zyra's golden eyes softened slightly. "You humans, you survive because you think. That is a strength that cannot be measured in muscle or speed." Ethan smiled. "And you survive because of your power. Together we can be stronger than either alone." As night fell, they found a hidden cave for shelter. Zyra kept watch while the humans ate and rested. Ethan approached her quietly. "Zyra," he said, "why did you help us in the first place? You could have left us to die." Zyra looked at the glowing river outside. "I am curious. No human has ever faced me without fear. Most flee, most beg. You stood firm. That is why I did not kill you. You are interesting, perhaps even worthy." Ethan nodded. "We don't have your strength, but we have courage, and we want to learn. Can we survive together?" Zyra's eyes flickered with something she had not felt in years, a flicker of hope, almost warmth. "Perhaps, but understand this, the Empire will not allow such choices. If they find me, if they learn of you, we will be hunted. You must be prepared to face danger you cannot imagine." Ethan straightened. "We are prepared, we survive because we must, and we can adapt. That is what makes humans strong." Zyra studied him. She had been trained to fight, to follow orders, to obey. But humans had something she had never known, freedom of choice. Courage born from will, not obligation. That was powerful. Over the next few days, Zyra taught the humans more than survival. She taught them to move silently, to watch predators, and to anticipate danger. She also taught them to think strategically, when to strike, when to hide, when to act. The humans learned quickly, inspired by their own need to survive and by Zyra's guidance. Each day, they moved with more confidence, relying not on strength, but on cleverness and teamwork. Ethan noticed a change in Zyra as well. She began to trust them, if only a little. She allowed them to make choices, to experiment, to adapt. And when they succeeded, her golden eyes showed a rare expression, approval. "You have potential," she said one morning. "Not just to survive, but to thrive. Perhaps you could survive anywhere. Humans are unpredictable. That is your strength." Ethan smiled. "And your strength is guiding us. Together we are stronger than alone." One night, as they rested, Zyra spoke quietly to Ethan. I have never had the choice to protect anyone except under orders, and now I feel something strange. I want to protect you even if it is not commanded. I do not know why, Ethan nodded. Because we trust each other, because we are allies. You do not have to follow orders, you can choose your own path. Zyra stared at the stars above Vera 9. She thought of her empire, her duties, the countless battles she had fought. And for the first time, she realized that there might be another way, a way where her strength was not a chain, but a tool to protect and guide those she chose. The humans slept, exhausted but safe. Zyra kept watch, her thoughts turning inward. For centuries, she had been bound to the empire, fighting without choice. But now, something small, fragile, and human had shown her a different kind of power, one she could almost feel if she dared believe. The galaxy was vast and dangerous. The Empire would not forgive weakness, but Zyra had begun to see that strength alone was not enough. Courage, intelligence, and choice, human qualities, could challenge even the mightiest forces. And as the night deepened, a silent understanding passed between the strongest warrior in the galaxy and the humans she had chosen to guide. Survival was more than strength. It was strategy, courage, and the bonds that could form even in the most unlikely of alliances. Tomorrow they would face new dangers. The Empire would not remain blind. But tonight they were alive together, and for the first time, Zyra wondered if freedom might be possible. The sun rose slowly over Vera 9, casting golden light across jagged cliffs and glowing rivers. Zyra led the humans through a narrow canyon, her golden eyes sharp and focused. The humans had grown stronger in the last days, not in muscle, but in skill, courage, and understanding. They were learning to think like her, to move like her, and most importantly, to survive. But danger was never far. Scouts of the Empire had begun searching for Zyra. The humans had to be careful, every step could lead them into a trap. Ethan walked beside Zyra, glancing at the cliffs above. How far until we reach a safer place? He asked. Zyra's voice was low and calm. A day's walk, if we move carefully. The Empire does not like to lose its strongest warrior. They will hunt us relentlessly. Lena shivered. And they are looking for us too, I can feel it. Zyra's golden eyes flickered. You feel what is not yet seen. That is human instinct. Useful but not enough. Strategy will save you. The humans had grown to trust Zyra, but they also knew the truth. Survival depended on courage and cleverness, and courage was something they had in abundance. As they approached a narrow valley, Zyra paused and lowered her voice. We will not survive by fleeing forever, she said. We must act. The Empire's power comes from fear and control. If we strike carefully, we can change the balance. Ethan's heart raced. He had suspected Zyra would guide them this far, but he had not expected action so soon. You mean fight back? He asked quietly. Zyra nodded. Not with strength alone, that would be suicide. But with intelligence, surprise, and unity, humans can change outcomes even against the strongest warriors. Raymai whispered, so we are really going to fight with her? Yes, Ethan said, determination in his voice. We survive together or we die trying. Zyra is not just strong, she can guide us, and we can think, plan, and adapt like no one else. Zyra led them through secret paths known only to her, avoiding Empire patrols and dangerous predators. Along the way, she began to teach them combat techniques. You do not need to match my strength, she explained, striking a large boulder with her weapon and shattering it into pieces. But you must know timing, placement, and focus. Attack weak points, not the whole body. Use the environment, think ahead. Ethan and the team practiced under her guidance. At first, their strikes were clumsy, their movements slow, but Zyra was patient. Focus, she said. Your mind is as important as your body. Humans survive because you think faster than you move. By the end of the day, the humans had improved remarkably. They moved with more confidence, striking with precision rather than power. Zyra nodded, approving of their progress. You learn quickly, she said. Perhaps faster than I expected. Ethan smiled. We have to. If we fail, we won't survive, and we trust you to guide us. Zyra's golden eyes flickered with an emotion she rarely showed, a hint of pride. Night fell and the group set up a hidden camp in a dense forest. Zyra kept watch, her weapon ready. Ethan approached her quietly, lowering his voice. Zyra, why do you fight for your empire? He asked. You're the strongest warrior, but not free. Why follow orders that do not serve you? Zyra's gaze softened. Because I was trained to obey, to fight. To kill for those who control me. For centuries, I have had no choice. Ethan nodded slowly. Then choose now. You can fight for yourself and for us. Together we can survive and maybe even gain freedom. Zyra looked at him, her golden eyes glowing in the firelight. She had never considered rebellion before. Her life had been dictated by orders, by loyalty to an empire that demanded obedience. But these humans, they had shown her something she had never felt: choice. The next day, they reached the edge of the empire's outpost. Zyra paused, scanning the area. "We cannot strike directly," she said. "Too many soldiers, too many weapons. But if we create a distraction, you can infiltrate the supply lines, destroy what feeds their power. Small victories, humans, will lead to larger ones." Ethan studied the map she drew in the dirt. "We can do this. With your guidance, we can reach the stores, sabotage their resources, and disappear before they notice." Zyra nodded. "Exactly, but you must act without hesitation. No second chances." The humans moved quietly under Zyra's guidance. They avoided patrols, hid in shadows, and used the terrain to their advantage. Zyra stayed behind, striking silently when necessary, protecting them from discovery. For hours, they navigated the Empire's territory, finally reaching the storage area. Ethan and his team worked quickly, sabotaging weapons, energy supplies, and communication lines. Their hands shook with adrenaline, but their determination never faltered. Then a soldier appeared, alerted by the sabotage. Zyra's golden eyes narrowed. With incredible speed, she struck, taking down the soldier before he could raise an alarm. The humans froze, but Zyra turned to them. "Do not be afraid," she said calmly. "You are learning. Fear is natural, but hesitation is deadly. Move quickly." The humans resumed their task, finishing the sabotage before any more soldiers arrived. They had succeeded, small victories, but enough to shake the Empire's confidence. As they retreated through the forest, Ethan turned to Zyra. "We did it, thanks to you, and thanks to our thinking, planning, and courage." Zyra studied him, her golden eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Yes, you are learning. Humans survive because they do not rely solely on strength. You rely on thought. That is rare. That is valuable." Ethan smiled. "And you survive because of your strength, discipline, and skill. Together, we are stronger than either alone." Zyra's expression softened. "Perhaps, but the Empire will not forgive this. If they find me aiding humans, they will come for all of us." Ethan nodded. "Then we must be ready together." The following days were tense. The humans and Zyra continued moving through the planet, sabotaging supply lines, avoiding patrols, and gathering information. With each small victory, they grew bolder and their bond grew stronger. Zyra began to show them more than just survival techniques. She shared her knowledge of the Empire's weaknesses, teaching the humans how to anticipate attacks and manipulate enemy movements. She even began to trust them with minor combat tasks, observing silently as they executed her strategies successfully. "You are learning quickly," Zyra said one evening as they rested in a cave. "Perhaps faster than I expected, but remember, the Empire will not forgive failure. Do not grow arrogant." Ethan nodded. "We won't. We survive because we must, and we survive together." Zyra's golden eyes flickered, almost with approval. For centuries, she had followed orders without question. Now, for the first time, she had allies she chose to protect, humans who were not strong in muscle, but strong in courage, intelligence, and will. One night, as they camped on a cliff overlooking a glowing valley, Zyra finally spoke in a voice lower than usual. "I have never asked for anything," she said softly. "Never for myself, but perhaps it is time. Perhaps it is time to fight not for orders, not for honor, but for freedom, for choice, for life." Ethan's heart raced. "Then fight with us, fight for yourself, and for all of us who depend on your guidance. We will survive together." Zyra's golden eyes met his. For the first time, she felt something she had not felt in centuries: hope. Freedom was possible, choice was possible, and with humans by her side, she might finally break the chains that bound her. The Empire had grown complacent, believing Zyra would always obey. They had never imagined she could choose differently. But now, with humans showing courage and intelligence, with sabotage weakening their hold, the first steps of a rebellion had begun. Zyra lowered her voice, almost a whisper, as she looked at Ethan. "I will fight for freedom. Not because I am ordered to, but because I choose to. And I will protect those who stand with me, even humans." Ethan smiled. "Then let's begin. Together we will survive, together we will fight, and perhaps we will win." As dawn broke over Vera 9, the humans and Zyra prepared for the next stage of their rebellion. Each small victory, each act of courage, brought them closer to freedom. The Empire had underestimated them, the weakest humans and the strongest warrior, united by trust, respect, and courage. Zyra had chosen her path. And for the first time in centuries, she was free to protect, to guide, and to fight not for orders but for herself and her new allies. The galaxy would soon know that strength alone was not enough. Courage, intelligence, and choice could challenge even the mightiest forces. And together, the humans and Zyra were unstoppable. The valley below Vera 9 glowed under twin suns, casting long shadows across jagged cliffs and rivers of shimmering liquid. The humans moved quietly with Zyra at their side, each step careful but determined. Today was the day they would face the Empire directly. Ethan's heart raced. The Empire's main outpost lay ahead, heavily guarded, and they had only one chance. If they failed, they would be captured or worse. But failure was not an option, not after all they had learned, all they had survived, and all they had risked. Zyra's golden eyes scanned the horizon, calculating the best approach. "We strike carefully," she said, her voice low and commanding. "The Empire relies on fear and numbers. They will underestimate you. That is our advantage." Lena swallowed nervously. "We really can do this?" Ethan nodded. "We survive by thinking, and we have Zyra with us. She's the strongest warrior in the galaxy, and she trusts us." Raymai muttered, "I still can't believe we're doing this, but we have to try." Zyra's eyes flickered, almost approving. "Then move quickly. Hesitation is death." The humans and Zyra approached the outpost under the cover of cliffs and trees. Zyra moved silently, leading them through hidden paths. She taught them to observe, to predict patrol patterns, to strike only when necessary. Every step was a lesson. "You are learning well," Zyra said quietly to Ethan. "Humans survive because they think faster than they move. That is rare. That is dangerous." Ethan smiled faintly. "And your strength guides us. Together we are unstoppable." As they neared the outpost, they saw soldiers patrolling the area in regular patterns. Zyra pointed to a narrow gorge. "We use the gorge. Patrols will not see us. You must act with precision. One mistake and the Empire will know we are here." The humans nodded, hearts pounding. They had faced danger before, but nothing like this. Their survival depended on strategy, teamwork, and courage, qualities Zyra had taught them to trust. Zyra led the team through the gorge, her movement fluid and silent. Ethan and his team followed carefully, keeping low, avoiding loose stones and shadows that could betray them. Finally, they reached the supply depot, weapons, energy packs, and communication devices stacked in a fortified area. Ethan signaled to his team, and they moved in, working quickly to sabotage the supplies. Raymai's hands shook as he set charges, but he followed instructions carefully. Lena monitored the patrols, signaling when it was safe. Ethan coordinated the team, moving with precision. And Zyra struck silently, eliminating any immediate threat before it could react. The humans were learning what Zyra had always known. Survival was not just strength. It was awareness, timing, and teamwork. Suddenly, alarms blared. A soldier spotted the humans. Chaos erupted as reinforcements poured into the area. Zyra roared, her weapon flashing in the sunlight. She moved with unmatched speed, cutting through soldiers with precision. But this time, she did not fight alone. The humans followed her guidance, using traps, sabotage, and clever positioning to fight back. Ethan ducked behind a crate, throwing a small explosive to block the soldier's path. Lena moved silently, disabling a guard. Raymai used a clever distraction, causing enemies to stumble into traps. Zyra observed, directing their actions with calm authority. Together, humans and the strongest warrior became a single force, combining strength, intelligence, and courage. The battle raged for what seemed like hours. The Empire's soldiers were powerful, but they were unprepared for this alliance. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and fast when led by Zyra. She herself fought with unmatched skill, protecting the humans and striking only when necessary. Finally, the last soldier fell. Silence returned to the outpost, broken only by the hum of energy packs and distant alien cries. The humans were exhausted but victorious. They had done what no one expected. They had struck a blow against the Empire and survived. Ethan looked at Zyra, his chest heaving. "We did it, we survived, thanks to you." Zyra's golden eyes met his. For the first time in centuries, she lowered her weapon fully, a gesture of trust. "You have learned quickly," she said softly. "Humans survive because of courage, intelligence, and adaptability. That is strength, real strength." Ethan smiled. And you survive because of skill, discipline, and guidance. Together, we are unstoppable. Zyra allowed a faint smile. She had always believed power alone defined victory. But now she understood. Courage, intelligence, and loyalty could match strength, and sometimes surpass it. After the battle, the humans and Zyra moved to a hidden plateau overlooking the Empire's outpost. They watched as chaos spread among the Empire's forces. Their small victory had inspired others. Rumors of a rebellion began to spread among oppressed aliens who had long suffered under the Empire's rule. Zyra spoke quietly to Ethan. I have never asked for freedom. I have never chosen my own path, but now I choose. I choose to protect those who stand with me. I choose to fight for life, not for orders. And I choose to trust humans, even fragile, even small ones, to survive alongside me. Ethan nodded. And we will stand by you. We survive because we must. And we fight because we are together. That is what makes us strong. Zyra lowered her voice, almost a whisper. Then it is done. The rebellion begins not just with humans, not just with me, but with anyone who refuses to bow to fear. In the following days, humans and Zyra continued their campaign. They sabotaged supply lines, freed captured aliens, and spread the message of courage and choice. The Empire's hold weakened as more began to join their cause. The humans learned to fight, to think strategically, and to move with precision. Zyra's strength combined with their ingenuity created a force no one expected. Even the Empire's most skilled commanders were unprepared for this alliance. Each day, Zyra's respect for humans grew. She had always seen them as fragile, weak, and unworthy. Now she saw their true strength, resilience, creativity, and courage that refused to break. Ethan noticed her change as well. She laughed softly at small mistakes, guided them patiently, and even allowed them to lead minor missions. The bond between humans and the strongest warrior deepened, built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. Finally, they faced the Empire's main fleet. Zyra led the humans to a hidden ridge overlooking the enemy base. The humans used the skills she had taught them, observation, timing, strategy, to sabotage the fleet's engines. Zyra struck with precision, dismantling the enemy's strongest weapons. The Empire's forces were forced to retreat, shocked by the humans' courage and the unexpected defection of their strongest warrior. For the first time, they had underestimated not just a human, but the bond between human courage and alien strength. As the dust settled, Zyra stood tall, her weapon lowered. She turned to Ethan. You humans, fragile, small, yet unyielding, you have taught me something I never knew. Freedom is worth fighting for. Courage is stronger than fear, and loyalty can shape the galaxy. Ethan smiled, exhausted but proud. And you've taught us that strength alone is not enough. Strategy, courage, and unity matter too. Together, we are stronger than anyone expected. The humans and Zyra watched the stars rise over Vera 9. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But for the first time, they were free to choose their path, free to fight not for orders, but for life, justice, and hope. Zyra lowered her voice, almost a whisper. I am free. Not because I am the strongest, but because I chose to be, and I will protect those who fight with me. Ethan placed a hand on her arm. We trust you, and we will fight with you. Humans survive because we think, adapt, and never give up. And you survive because you choose. That is real strength. Zyra's golden eyes reflected the stars above. She had learned something important. The galaxy did not belong only to the strongest. It belonged to those who had courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. And humans had all three. The humans and Zyra stood together on the cliff, looking out at the galaxy. They had survived impossible odds, challenged the Empire, and won freedom. Their alliance had proven that courage, intelligence, and loyalty could match the greatest strength in the galaxy. And as the twin suns rose over Vera 9, the strongest warrior in the galaxy lowered her voice once more. Not to command, not to fight, but to promise protection and freedom for all who chose to stand with her. The humans had proven themselves worthy allies, and together they had reshaped their fate. The Empire would never forget them, and the galaxy would remember that strength alone was never enough. True power belonged to those who dared to fight for freedom, hope, and each other.